Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Readers Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Readers Magnet's featured author. And today, she will be sharing to us what this book is all about, her as an author, and of course, what inspired her to write this book. So, yes, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only is Carol Kinney, author of the book The Prophecy of Heligon. All right. Hello,
Oh,
Carol. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm great, Leah. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I like to
That's
talk
good to
about
hear.
my books.
And it's a pleasure. Exactly. Right. So, yes, Carol, this is the moment that we've been waiting for because it's now, a platform where you would be able to let the people know who you are as an author and what exactly the book is all about. But before we do that, we wanted to know who Miss Carol Kinney is. So, maybe a little bit of self introduction, please.
Who is Carol Kinney? Well, I guess Carol Kinney is a writer. I write my The Path of Fire and a um, Trail of Embers are both a fantasy series. I also write contemporary romance. I write comedic kind of romance. I'm writing in a series of romantic suspense right now. So I kind of
Wow.
dabble in a lot of things and kind of let myself go where my imagination takes me. And I have a lot of
Wow.
imagination. So
Wow, interesting. That's interesting, Carol. Thank you so much for that. And yes, Carol, about your book. You know what? I heard that this novel of yours transports readers into a magical world where, unpredictable things happen. And that's really interesting. So, yeah, can you tell us more about that?
well, when I started writing the Prophecy of Heligon, I started with A Trail of Embers. And funnily enough, it did propel me into a world of fantasy because after I finished that book, I started thinking about where my main character came from and realized that I had to write a book about the main character and where she came from, which is A Path of Fire, because my imagination just wouldn't let it rest. I had to finish it up and find that. And when I finished the end of that book, now I'm thinking maybe I need to have a third book to show where I'm going backwards. What can I say? I'm writing backwards. So I think I have a lot of imagination if I could keep coming up with more and more questions to be answered.
Wow, that's interesting, Carol. So there's really a book prior to this. And
There is.
then you
My
discovered
book
you
two is
write.
actually my book one.
Oh, okay. Wow. And you know what? This is really interesting because, I must say that why fantasy books right now are so good because there's really, so many different worlds to explore, and the only limit is really your imagination. Fantasy novels right now have this kind of ability to really diverse stories, worlds, and that fantastical element to them knowing more information about it, and wow, it's just so amazing. Yes, and also Carol. Now, going back to your book, we wanted to know as well, what's your experience being, the author? Like, are you a meticulous planner, or do you prefer to let the story evolve as you write?
I'm kind of both. I'm a planner because I say, okay, what's my beginning? What's my middle? What's my end? And then I go
Mm-hmm.
back and I kind of fill in bullet point form as to what I want to happen in those sections. And then I go back and start to write the chapters. And as I'm writing the chapters, I'm kind of just sort of freewheeling and I'll come back to them and I'll add to them and
Mm-hmm.
do that. I find they kind of begin to write themselves as I'm going through because I'm just kind of thinking, well, what if this happened and what if I did this and just kind of go from there and see where it takes me.
Wow, that's so, it's actually a nice style to, after writing this, I want to go back and make sure that if this is really what I wanted to happen in this book. Wow, that's actually a nice, nice kind of style, when it comes to writing a book. Wow, thank you so much for that, Carol. And also, Carol, you know what? I've actually checked your book online and seeing there, you've already have, a lot of positive feedbacks, good reviews about the book. Now, when writing this book, when did you learn that language had power? Since your book is also advocating for a specific cause and agenda, especially when it comes to entertaining someone. So, can you tell us more about that?
I write to really entertain. I write what I would like to read. I kind of like follow in that way. Like I just write. It's like a storyteller versus somebody just writing for school or something like that. I mean, I'm a huge storyteller. I've always been a storyteller. I grew up telling my sisters these long-winded, drawn-out sagas while we were doing dishes and things like that. I was just kind of the entertainment and just kept things going. Or in the car, things like that. I would just talk and talk and talk and make up
Right.
these stories. And so yeah, I'm more of a storyteller. I just write what I want to read.
Right. And you know what? That's actually good to hear, Carol. It's not just about you sharing your talent, but at the same time, you really wanted to entertain people. And you know what? Fantasy books is really therefore important to mental well-being. Particularly for the young adult reader, because I must say that it would really provide a momentary escape, a release. It also helps increase the potential of one's imagination, especially, imagination, to really solve life problems. So it can be used to all aspects in life. It can help resolve emotional conflicts and alleviate the anxieties as well. So this is really a good book that you
That's
have,
right.
Carol.
I mean, sometimes you write something or read something and it really resonates with you. So then you kind of go, and start to think about that and kind of see how you can plot out your own way in certain
Hmm.
things too.
Right, right. Now, Carol, being a writer, or a storyteller, what is the one thing you wish you had known when you were starting out as a writer?
Ooh, I wish I had known more about the planning part of it, like the planning, the networking, the being in touch with other writers,
Mm-hmm.
because when you start writing, and because I'm self-published, which is what I actually I like being self-published.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that means I also have to do all the formatting and all the publicity and all that type of stuff that go along with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had known more about that and ways to do that. I wish there was a book, self publication for dummies as far as publicity and all that,
Right.
just so I could really, really kind of get that hammered down.
Exactly. I mean, who wouldn't want it to be like all in one? I want to be all in one, you know?
I want one. I want
Right, right.
it instant gratification, right?
Uh-huh. Exactly, but I know that you'll get there. I know that you'll get there, especially that you already have a project manager who would really wanted to cooperate with you. That hey, Carol, this is something that we wanted to do about your book, and at the same time, you're also learning.
Well,
And
every
that's
day,
interesting. Every day,
something
that's
new
good to
every
hear,
day.
Carol. Mm-hmm. Right now, also, Carol, for this book, or let's say, can you give us maybe a sneak peek into any upcoming projects or ideas you're currently working on?
Ooh, yeah, I
Do you
can.
have?
I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually working on a romantic fiction. It's called It's
Wow.
in the Bones, and it's contemporary, so it's happening now. But at the same time, it's got a ghost story. So it
Mm-hmm.
sort of opens up with the prologue of the ghost story, and then comes into current time, and it's going to kind of flip back and forth to where the ghost story evolves from. And it takes place in the 1850s in Whitechapel, London, which is actually later became Jack the Ripper's hunting grounds, kind of things. But it has so much interesting history in the area that I was just kind of like, what if I could just take this and build a ghost story and but also have it take place now and have that love story going on. So that's
Exactly.
sort of what I'm writing right now, which is
Right,
actually
right.
fun to write. But it's a terrible time waste for falling down holes as you're doing any kind of historical research, because there were some really strange practices of that time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Right.
just kind of, I fall down that hole sometimes and just kind of, oh, I'm going to include this, I'm going to put this in.
Interesting. You know what, Carol? I must say that wow, I can just imagine what's inside your brain, how you come up with all of these ideas, such a creative mind. Because I mean, not wow, it's just so amazing, and especially right now creating a love story, romance, or mystery books. Because there's also a lot of people there who really wanted to look for clues, red herrings. That's
Hmm.
what makes them more interesting, right? And wow. it's just so amazing. Now, Carol, I can tell that you created this book is really such a successful creation. Now, I wanted to know, what was the feedback coming from your loved ones? I mean, it's actually a good feeling that you already have a lot or got a positive feedback, a lot of good reviews from the people. But what about your loved ones? What about your family? What about the support coming from them?
Well, they're really supportive. Have they read my books? I'm not really sure.
Right,
But,
right. Mhm.
yeah, no, they've been very supportive, and my husband's really great for just accepting the fact that I'm going to go lock myself away in the basement in my little office and stay. I mean, he's great with that. So yeah, lots of support in that way for sure. Um, Friends, I've got some really great friends who are my readers who like do
Mhm.
criticize and tell me what they think and give me all their input. So that's a really big help. It's nice to have
Wow, and that's priceless.
pre-readers.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good. I like having pre-readers for sure.
Wow.
Mm.
That's good. Thank you so much for that, Carol. And of course, Carol, before we end the interview, I really wanted you to also maybe, leave a message to our viewers, or what would you want your readers to take away from your book? Or is there any special message to them who'd like to also, have your book?
I would probably just say go and read it, and don't feel that you have to read A Path of Fire before you read A Trail of Embers, because as I said, I wrote Trail of Embers before I wrote The Path of Fire. They go together. I mean, possibly I'll write a third one in the next year or so.
Wow.
But like I
Wow, thank you so much for that, Carol. That's interesting. And we wanted to also, of course, work for that book. Work with you on that book. Thank you so much, Carol. And also for our viewers out there, I would like to also let you know that Miss Carol Kinnee is our one of our Readers Magnets, our amazing Bonanza winners for the season 10. So this is actually a platform where authors are given the opportunity to introduce themselves, who they are as an author, what inspired them to write this book, and of course, what exactly the book is all about. And thank you so much for that, Ms. Carol Kinney, for giving Readers Magnet the opportunity to be with you in this journey. Thank you. And
thanks.
yes, all right now, Carol, do you have your book with you right now?
I
The
do.
other books that you have? Okay, that's good. Will you
Oh,
please
my
show it to our viewers? Well, it's actually there on the screen, everyone. Okay, here.
some and whoops, this is A Path of
All
Fire.
right. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Carol. And yes, viewers, I would like to inform you that this book of Miss Carol Kinnee's A Path of Fire, The Prophecy of Halligan, is available in Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and of course, please do check her website. That's www.carolkinney.com. And yes, again, Carol, thank you so much for gracing with us today. And of course, as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you, Carol.
Great. Thanks so much.
Hot off the press, hot off the press, hot off the press.
Some guys, like Jeff Foxlove, have all the luck. You name it, he has it. He's living his best life. He's an alpha male in the making, in the world of advertising. Let's just say he's destined to lead the pack with terror. It took one bite from a feral creature to turn his world upside down. He's a flesh-driven beast at night with the full moon's light. Now, Jeff has to make a move to end the curse he didn't sign up for, or spend the rest of his life as the
that monumental giant leap to conquer the moon. 70 years later, mankind takes on another leap in making the impossible possible. Welcome to 2039. Welcome to the moon, man's new home. The world's biggest international joint venture is set to map out one dream for mankind: to advance life here on Earth and to make its way to living on the moon. And so, 30 astronauts of different nationalities paved the way for human life to thrive on lunar soil. Soon, what people on Earth would see as science fiction in movies would become a life they want to experience. But that dream of living on the moon might become a nightmare in the blink of an eye. Just as life on the moon becomes the new normal, to the shock of everyone, Bruce Hallman becomes the first casualty on lunar terrain. Soon, the question of how safe everyone is on board the Venturius becomes the fear of all. Now everyone seeks an answer to Bruce's death. Was his death the result of an accident, or did something more sinister living among them make it look like one?